It's the holiday season and things are getting busy. You might be looking for some nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you on jam-packed days when you've got too many things to do. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all your holiday to-dos. Cross meal prepping off your list this holiday season with Factor. Skip the meal planning, grocery shopping, chopping, prepping, and cleaning up, and get Factor's fresh, never frozen meals delivered straight to your door. They're ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy. My wife and I have tried Factor meals, and they're probably the best ready-to-eat meals we've ever tried. They're really easy to use. Just take them out of the refrigerator, heat them up in the microwave, and peel off the top, and you're ready to go. Treat yourself to high-quality, delicious meals over the holidays. Choose from over 35 chef-crafted meals every week that support a healthy lifestyle and meet your meal preferences, whether it's calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus, and more wholesome options. Looking for calorie-conscious options over the holidays when everybody's trying to load you up with lots of treats that don't skimp on flavor? Try delicious dietitian-approved calorie-smart meals with around less than 550 calories per serving. Or if you need an extra boost to support your wellness goals and help you feel your best during the holidays, try Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. Factor isn't just for dinner. Count on extra convenience any time of day with an assortment of more than 55 add-ons to suit various preferences and tastes. Choose from quick breakfast items, lunch-to-go, grab-and-go snacks, and ready-to-drink cold-pressed juices, shakes, and smoothies. With Factor, you can rest assured you're making a sustainable choice. We offset 100% of our delivery emissions and source 100% renewable electricity for production sites and offices. This December, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/wheelbearings50 and use code wheelbearings50. That's wheelbearings50 to get 50% off. That's code wheelbearings50 at factormeals.com/wheelbearings50 to get 50% off. Coming up on episode 333, we've got the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid, the Honda Motocompacto, the Hyundai Tucson, and a whole bunch of news from CES 2024, including large language models coming to cars, Honda Series 0 concepts, Lidar in China, Eaton's mini EV charger, Supernal, and Xpeng showing off flying machines of some sort, the Detroit Auto Show going back to January, Android Auto getting battery information, and a conversation with Henrik Fisker. All that and more coming up next. This is episode 333 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Abu-Al-Samad from Guidehouse Insights.
And I'm Nicole Wakeland from The Road Reflected.
And I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And Robbie and I managed to get back from CES without any COVID.
So that, to me, that is I don't know. Like, we should get a badge or a patch or something for that, because
I did that in 2020 as well. Right when it was really arguably the first super spreader event. So
right, because
I don't know if they're real. I think everyone was saying they got COVID at CES. I think that's one of those, like, I saw the band first. I saw Radiohead with 12 people in a bar in Bristol or something. I think that's what would happen.
Yeah,
but that was the year I used hand sanitizer. I didn't shake anyone's hands. I didn't hug anyone, because the day after I got back, I had a huge, like, 2 of my bands were playing shows that week.
Oh, so you had to be.
So I was like super careful that weekend, but I still think that the I got COVID at CES 2020 is very much the I saw Pearl Jam
I was
in
at
Seattle
Woodstock
for $3. Yeah,
I was at Woodstock.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily that many people got it, but I think enough people got it that were going back to different places that that's what proliferated it everywhere.
Yeah, I do think a lot of people brought it home. Yes.
Yeah. Like a delicious.
Anyway, let's talk cars.
Yeah.
Cars. I didn't drive a car. I was at CES. I didn't drive nothing.
I drove a car.
Well, you did. You rode something.
Did I?
The
Oh yeah, I did. I guess I'll write that down. You guys keep talking. I'll write that to the notes.
All right, Nicole, what'd you drive?
I had the Hyundai Tucson. So, and it was the gas engine because it's gas hybrid or plug-in with the Tucson. I just had good old gas engine. So it's a 2.5 liter four-cylinder, 187 horsepower. It moves. It's not supposed to be sporty, and it doesn't drive like it's sporty. It's a nice, solid little family SUV. I don't know. Is it SUV or crossover? I guess it's technically an SUV, right? Is it a proper?
Who the hell knows anymore?
It doesn't matter.
An SUV over.
Everything's an SUV now.
But it's two rows.
It's a tall wagon.
A tall wagon. But I like this one because you know what? It's not like a crossover that's too tight. Like, so if you put three people in the back, they'd be squished. There's a decent amount of room in the back of the Tucson, for shoulder wise. So 3 adults could sit across. But for 2, it's genuinely spacious. I had Russ move the seat back for his 6'3" and then sit behind his seat, and he was fine. So it's a decent car if you have taller people that are going to ride him back. What I like about Hyundai, and I always like about Hyundai, is not only their cars look decent, they have nice trims, but you get they're always a great value. You always get an awful lot of features for the price that you're paying. So I have the Limited, which is the top trim. I had it with all-wheel drive, and it's available with front-wheel drive if you want it. And all-wheel drive is awesome. But it's $38,000-ish, roughly. I didn't have a Monroney, so I looked it up, but it's around $38,000, just over. So for $38,000, you're getting a vehicle with a lot of features. That includes the all-wheel drive. You've got heated and ventilated front seats and a heated steering wheel. You got heated rear seats, which I always think is like the coolest luxury, to have those outboard passengers have heated seats, because people never have heated second row seats. They tend to be something that you get in very expensive cars. You can find them in a mass, more affordable cars like this, but it's not common. So you have that. You got Bose premium audio, panoramic sunroof. You get a lot of features, and there's leather seats. So it looks like a premium car, but it's still a Hyundai. So it's $38,000. You're not paying for a fancy badge on the front of it. And it drives beautifully. I drove it in quite a bit of snow, so it handled really, really well. I didn't have any issues at all getting through little snow banks at the end of the driveway. And there is a snow mode. There's a couple of different drive modes. I tried out the snow mode, but when I went from snow to knots to I think is it called comfort? I've forgotten what the regular mode is, but from snow to not snow mode, I didn't suddenly notice that the car handled terribly. So even without putting in its little snow mode, it handles just fine. Didn't have any trouble getting through the snow. Was a great car for winter driving. I took it into Boston in a muckety mess, and it was good. And it has a lot of room for cargo. It's got 41.2 cubic feet behind the rear seats and 80.3 when you fold those seats flat. They're 60-40 split folding seats. That's a good amount of room. You can fit a lot of luggage back there, and it's a nice wide opening. Like, I thought about this, and I don't know if this is technically SUV, like you said, we were talking about, or technically crossover, but this really is a great vehicle if you're like, I want this space for my luggage or my kids' stuff or the family, weekend project. But I don't want something that's a cavernous, unnecessarily huge size. This is going to hold a family's luggage, no problem. It's going to hold a family, no problem. Has great features. And for $38,000, that's not a bad price. And I really enjoy driving it. It's my only gripe. And this isn't a Hyundai gripe. This is an every car ever made gripe. I didn't have a Monroney, so I don't know what they called the color, but it was sort of like the interior was a sort of whitish, light grayish kind of leather seats. Really beautiful leather seats, really comfortable leather seats that, because they were so light, were actually the color of your jeans. Like, they have that, they take the blue dye.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I don't know why it's always it doesn't happen on tan. Like, light tan interiors don't suffer this so much, but anything that's a white or light gray, you see it, and it makes your seats look awful. Like, it really does. And it's not a Hyundai thing. You can get the most expensive or the cheapest car. If you have those light leather seats like that, they grab the dye from your jeans. So as soon as I get in, I'm like, oh, okay, there we go. The seats were once a paler shade. Now they're slightly blue tinged. So that was my only gripe about it. But again, that's not a Hyundai gripe. That's a don't get that color seat in any leather ever if you ever wear blue jeans, because your seats will be the color of your jeans after you slide in and out a few times.
Well, especially if you have, if you have children, You also do not want anything light like that for your upholstery.
Because it really does sort of soak in the dirt and the colors. So you've got, I don't know why you buy an SUV this size if you didn't have a family, but like, don't put your kids in this one, or put something over the seats, and never wear your fancy, nice dark blue jeans or you're going to ruin your seats. Because it does come off. Like I was talking about, you can mostly get it off, but if you've had those seats if you've had the car for a while, remember, these are cars that have not been driven for years and years. They aren't getting that kind of lifetime of driving. They already have this kind of marks on them. And yeah, you can clean it off, but how often do you want to have to be cleaning your seats? And at some point, you're not really getting all of that blue out of there. At some point, the blue is staying, and it's now a part of the look. And even, how leather creases over time from just people's butts being in the seat. As those creases happen, they look even worse because they sort of highlight the creases, because the creases are more white and the rest of the seats get that more that blue hit. So it makes them look older than they are, even when they're nice, new, still look, pretty good looking seats. So that was my complaint. And it's not a Hyundai Tucson complaint. It's a cars with light leather seats complaint.
Do you know if the Tucson you were driving was a 2023 model or a 24?
I believe I had a 24.
Okay, because I'm looking through the build and price on the configurator on the 24, and I cannot find anything but black interiors.
Really?
Yeah, so it's possible you got a 23.
It said 24. Again, I'm going on what I have. The key fob said 24, and I'm assuming that the key fob is correct.
Maybe they ordered one into the fleet, and then they saw what was going on. They're like, yeah, don't offer that anymore. Yeah. That was a bad idea.
Maybe. But otherwise I like the Tucson. Generally speaking, I like Hyundais. I feel like they do a good, they're not fancy, they're not over the top, but it looks great. The interior's nice, they're comfortable, they ride well, they get good fuel. They sort of check all the boxes. They do all the things you want it to do. And as a family car, I think the Tucson's a great choice.
What do you think of the center stack with the touch controls on there?
I didn't have an issue with it. I was fine with the touch controls. Why? What don't you like about the touch?
The touch controls for the climate and everything. They're a little fussy to use. Without looking at them. And I know we talked about this a few weeks ago. There was a Autocar UK publication had the refreshed Tucson, which is actually they're redoing the instrument panel and the center stack and going back to physical controls. So you still get the touch screen, but replacing that touch panel that's below the screen with physical controls. And I would guess that is going to be coming probably on the 25 Tucson here in North America.
Yeah, I didn't find these to be the like some of these touch controls like this where they control everything are super finicky and fidgety. Mm-hmm. I didn't find these as bad as some. Like it was enough. I'm like, oh, I'd rather have a button. I'd rather have a little something to press. But it wasn't so much so that it was driving me crazy and I couldn't get used to it. So I felt like this one was better.
All right.
It was all right. It was all right.
It's all right. I'll deal with it if I have to.
Exactly.
All right. And let's see. What was the price again?
It's about 38,000. It was just over 38 for the limited because I said I didn't have a Maroni, so I went and looked. So for the 24, the limited with all-wheel drive is like 38. I want to say 38 something. So it's just over 38.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Tucson.
Robbie.
Yo.
You got to ride something in Las Vegas last week.
I did. So I went to the Honda booth at CES, which it was hard to realize it was the Honda booth. It was just a dark booth with a bunch of people in it, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on over there?" It was like a club. You ever been to a club where it doesn't have like really good signage, but there's a lot of people there? You're like, "Well, I got to see what's going on." Yeah, probably. Yeah. And so when I went, I'm like, "Oh, it's the Honda booth." So the two Honda concepts look way better in person than they do in the photos. Because in the photos, I was like, these are fine, whatever. And then
the photos are kind of dark too, especially for the saloon. But we'll talk about that later.
So, but yeah, I went in there and I'm like, oh, these are nice. And then I saw someone from Honda PR, and then I saw someone else from Honda PR, then I saw somebody else from Honda PR, and then I had a meeting with somebody that was canceled. And they were like, "Hey, you want to go grab some lunch?" And I said, "Sure." So I went back with them to like a meeting room in another hotel. And they're like, "Hey, you want to ride the Motocompacto around this meeting room?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And so I rode the Motocompacto around a meeting room while Honda was eating lunch. They had like little chairs set up for like presentation, and they had rounds set up for people to eat dinner, and then there was like a lunch, and there was like a table with a buffet on it, and I just rode a little Motocompacto around that for like 15 minutes, and it was fantastic.
So everyone else was having lunch. You're just driving circles around them.
Yeah. Everyone was enjoying their food, and I was just like, whee!
So, you're quite a bit taller than I am.
Yes.
So I was wondering, how comfortable was it for you to ride it?
It actually wasn't bad. I thought it was going to be a lot. I thought I was going to feel a lot more cramped. The thing with scooters and with something like this is that the sitting, it's how you sit. So if I get on, say, a 600cc sport bike like a Monster or CBR, I look like someone hugging a small tricycle is what it looks like.
But on the Motocompacto, everybody looks like that.
Yeah, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was actually comfortable. The seat, again, I'm riding around on carpet in a meeting room, so I'm not like, on a road somewhere, putting this thing through its paces. I'm cruising around a meeting room in the convention center portion of a hotel. So yeah. But yeah, no, it felt comfortable. I was trying to shoot video, so I was riding it with one hand, which can be, especially for something with, the smaller the wheels, the less stability you have, and the smaller the sort of the wheelbase, the less stability you have. And so it took a few moments, but I got it so I could get some like shots of the accelerator going, the numbers going up and down up to, I think I got to a grand total of 12 miles an hour at one point. Ooh. Which is right under the 15 mile an hour top speed. So yeah, so it, I was just blazing through the
that's pretty impressive in a meeting room.
Yeah, well, I was gunning it. That's what but yeah, 15 mile an hour top speed. It has like 12 miles of range. I weigh probably 220, and it seemed fine for sort of as a last mile vehicle. Like if you shoved this in the back of your car, and you drove into town, you have to park at a garage, and then your work is another half mile, 3 miles away for whatever reason. You can hit on this and get on ride in the bike lane if you're allowed to. Some places let you if you're, that's why it has that 15 mile an hour top speed. Cruise to work. Carry it upstairs. It's 42 pounds. Yeah. Wait, hold on. I found it. 41.3 pounds. Not too heavy. They showed me they're like, it's one way people carry it is they put the pegs in, they put the seat down, and they turn the steering wheel, but they grab it and then they just walk it while it's rolling. They just roll it along.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you have, especially if you have like an elevator in your work, then this is great because you can just roll it up. It doesn't take up a lot of room. Plug it into the wall and do your business work. If you if you work at a coffee shop or whatever, this is still smaller than bringing your bike in, which some places are like, well, where are we going to park your bike? We're not a big shop, and you get a lot of guff. But this thing, it's a size of a box. For I don't know,
a fairly skinny box at that.
Yeah, like it's a skinny box. You can fold it up and then just plug it in, and it's out of everyone's way. And then of course after work, everyone wants to ride your Motocompacto because they're now you're everyone's best friend. You're like the kid who got a pool in your neighborhood. But yeah, it has a little bell. It doesn't have a horn. It doesn't have turn signals, but I did a little bell. It's all ding ding. So that's that's nice.
How'd the bell go?
Ding ding.
Okay.
But yeah, for $1,000, it feels like it's a pretty good deal. If you're looking at like e-bikes can be very, very expensive.
Oh yeah,
you can probably get an e-bike for about this much. But if you're going to college and you can get one of those scooters where you stand up, like the bird type scooters, or you can get something like this if you want to be really cool. So yeah, I think I like the idea we have more of these like small little last mile or just get around school or just get from one place to another in the bike lane. Little devices. I think that's great because sometimes if you take BART, I could take this on BART. I could take this on the subway, and get to my life. Or you bring the bike on the BART or on the subway, and some people are fine with it, but if it's a busy day, people are not happy with you. I was in New York like a week ago, and there was a person who was doing a food delivery, and he brought his big old bike with the big old box on the back with the food in it. It's clonk right in the middle, and everyone's just like, oh, take it apart.
$995 is the list price, and you buy these through Honda dealers. Unfortunately, as is often the case these days.
Oh no! Yeah, are you gonna hurt my feelings with markups?
I just looked on eBay, and there's one here that's listed for $1,295. But most of these are running are listed between $1,600 and $2,000.
Come on.
Yeah, this is a fun little vehicle, but I don't know that it's worth $2,000. It's $995. Fine.
Boom. Perfect price point.
$2,000 is a bit too much.
No, that's ridiculous. You can get two.
Yeah.
You get you and for a friend, and you guys could start a gang.
A gang.
A Motocompacto gang.
Motocompacto gang.
Just cruising around, low speed, hassling the elderly or whatever gangs used to do in motorcycles. Selling meth, I guess. And then trying to get away from the cops. Maybe don't start the Motocompacto game. Maybe the Motocompacto game is just you cruise to the bakery and have a croissant, and then
I think that's
I'm down
idea.
for that game.
Yeah,
I could do that game.
Or a big cookie,
Yeah, or a big cookie, and you give money to you go volunteer at like the senior center in your town. That's the Motocompacto game. Okay.
Or maybe go volunteer at your local animal shelter and ride around with the dogs. The dog run.
A little run around with them or something. Yeah. That's funny because you're like, it has storage. You can put a laptop in there. I'm like, I'm not going to put my laptop in there. I just feel like it's going to be slamming back and forth, or I don't know.
Well, if you have your laptop in one of those sleeves, one of those like neoprene sleeves or something.
I should be fine, I guess.
But okay.
I keep I have a backpack that I wear, and that's been working out for me for the last 20 years. So I think I don't think I need an additional space. Maybe I guess I'm riding with two laptops, and I don't want the weight of extra 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Cramping my style. I can shove it in the Motocompacto. Or I have a bunch of records. Oh, I should have seen how many records. Like if I could put a vinyl in there.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
You could definitely fit some vinyl in there, and that would actually be more secure than sticking those records in your backpack.
Yeah, you
got rigid sides on the Motocompacto.
Yeah, you can get like a little bag. You can get your little the bag you use to go buy records. You can throw them in there.
Yeah, you could probably fit about 10 albums in there.
Yeah, put them in the bag. Keep them safe.
Yep.
There you go. I just went.
All right.
Hey,
Motocompacto, but don't buy it on eBay.
No. Oh my God. Just if you have to wait, just wait.
Yeah.
It's $1,000. You've gotten through life so far without it. Just wait till the dealer has it.
All right. Well, I got home from Vegas and picked up a Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid, the last Chrysler standing. This is currently the only vehicle built with a Chrysler badge. Now that the 300 is out of production as of a couple of weeks ago. So the Pacifica plug-in hybrid, this is the latest iteration of the classic Chrysler minivan. And the minivan form factor is still, I still think it's the best form factor for hauling a family around. It's better than
here.
It is. You're right.
It's the best.
Better than an SUV. You got the sliding doors, so you don't have to worry about the kids, opening up the back door and ding the car next to you. You got lots of room. Easy to if you got to load kids into car seats, it's great for that. I don't have that anymore. Mine are long since gone. But
a usable third row.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. So this one, the one that I've got here is the Pinnacle, which has those really nice leather pillows. Yeah, the quilted leather pillows. Got all the goodies on there. Unfortunately, when I was driving it home from the airport on Friday night, I was not able to use adaptive cruise control because the radar sensor kept getting clogged up with snow and slush. And actually, as I was pulling out of the parking lot, the parking sensor kept beeping at me. So once I got through the payment gate, I had to pull over and just get out and clear snow off the sensors, the ultrasonic parking sensors on the front bumper, because it was causing them to think that there was something there that I was about to run into, even though there wasn't anything there. And I've had that problem before when driving in vehicles in the snow, and that is one of the downsides of those parking sensors.
It happens all the time with every sensor in your car. It's like a Christmas tree of lights when you drive in the snow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the Pacifica hybrid, is this is definitely the best version of it's the best version of the Pacifica if you don't need all-wheel drive, because with the gas Pacifica, the gas. All Pacificas now have the only engine is the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6, which is great engine, but you can only get all-wheel drive on the regular gas version. You cannot get it on the plug-in hybrid. And
don't you also lose the stow and go seats?
You also lose the second row stow and go seats.
Yeah,
the third row seats, they still stow and go.
Yeah.
But the compartment under the floor where the stow and go seats would usually be stowed is where the battery is now. So you obviously can't drop the seats down in there because there's a battery.
You can't stow and go. You can take them out though. I've done that before. When this first came out, I took them out.
Yes, you can remove them.
Are they hard to take out? I've never taken them out. Were they a pain in the butt?
They're a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I think taking out any seat is kind of a pain, just because they're big and bulky and
no more so than they ever were before there was stow and go. But that was still a pain in the butt then.
Yeah. No matter what, it's a pain in the butt.
Although this one, the Pinnacle trim level, the highest end trim level, it does have the second row captain's chairs, so you're not taking out a full bench. You have individual seats, so they're a little easier to manipulate. One nice thing about having the plug-in hybrid over the past several days, it has gotten quite cold here in Michigan. It was -5 this morning, and yesterday. My wife wanted to go to the gym, and so I offered to give her a ride over there. And I had gone out in the car and I had set the schedule, the preconditioning schedule, while the Pacifica was plugged in. And so when we got in the car, the cabin was all nice and warm. Didn't have to wait for it to heat up. So that is one of the nice things about plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles is you can do that preconditioning. You can go and set a schedule, tell it what time you want to leave, set the temperature where you want it, and then while it's still plugged in to the outlet, it will just automatically turn on the heat and start warming up the cabin so that it's at your desired temperature at the time that you want to leave. So that was a very handy feature. The Pacifica, it's been around for a while now, and it's more or less in its current form. One of the nice things that they've done on the Chrysler, on the Stellantis spec sheets now, is in the general information section at the top, it tells you, the vehicle type, in this case, multi-purpose vehicle, not a minivan, it's a multi-purpose vehicle. Assembly plant, Windsor, Ontario. And then they also have the introduction date, which you don't often find on these kinds of spec sheets. So this was introduced in 2016 as a 2017 model. So that means this thing is almost 8 years old now.
Wow.
But it's still a good looking vehicle. They did a mid-cycle refresh a few years back, updated the front fascia to nominally make it look a little more like a crossover, but not really. But it's still an attractive vehicle, for what it is, for a minivan form factor. And with the plug-in hybrid, you get 260 horsepower, and it's got more than enough performance for this type of vehicle. It's not a sports car by any stretch of the imagination, but it's more than adequate. And it's pretty close to almost the same as what you get with the gas engine, but a little more torque than the gas engine. And it's rated at I think it's 32 miles of electric range. I haven't had a chance to do a range test yet because it has been very cold. And so I'm guessing, the electric range, in these conditions would probably be somewhere around maybe 20 miles. But in decent weather, it'll easily go over 30 miles on a charge, which means that most of the time, if you plug this thing in every night when you come home, it'll be fully charged in the morning. And for most people, the vast majority of people, 80% of people drive less than 40 miles a day. You're going to be able to do pretty much almost all of your daily driving without using any gas in this thing. And then when it's time to take a road trip to Disney World or to visit grandma and grandpa or wherever it is, that people do road trips with their kids to, you just keep driving. And then once it depletes the battery, it behaves just like any other hybrid and still gets decent fuel economy. It is rated at, 30 miles per gallon combined, which is quite acceptable for a minivan. I mean, these things, the gas version, I think, is rated about 21 or 22. So that's a significant boost. And, if you are doing most of your driving on electricity, the average of what you're actually going to be spending in terms of gas anyway is going to be significantly more than that. So, I like the Pacifica. It's the only minivan with a plug-in hybrid right now. The Toyota Sienna is hybrid only now, the current generation Sienna, but no plug-in. They don't have a Sienna Prime yet. Although it wouldn't surprise me if in the next year or two they offer one. But for now, they don't have that. So you get your choice of gas V6 in the Kia what do you call it? Carnival now. You got the Sienna with just a regular hybrid, and you have the Pacifica with either hybrid or plug-in hybrid as your three minivan choices in the marketplace today. The only downside of this one is the price. Base price on the Pacifica, actually the Pinnacle, the only option on this was $195 for the granite crystal metallic clear coat paint. Everything else is standard on this thing, which is good, because it should be standard at $61,785. That's a lot of money for a minivan.
Well, it's just the regular Pacifica. The base entry is like 51, 52, something.
No, I think they start around a little under 40 for the regular gas Pacifica.
It's not
the gas. I'm talking about the hybrid. Yeah.
Oh, I think you can get the hybrid for mid 40s, for the lower trim levels.
Chrysler Pacifica.
For some reason, the Chrysler website is not loading at the moment for me.
Oh, come on, Chrysler, get together. You're only selling one car. Come on.
Site can't be reached.
One car to have, just one.
All right, I got it. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Loading. Things are loading. Let's see. Build-in price. Wait for it. 2023. Yeah, the Touring L is $51,095. Oof.
Is that the cheapest plug-in hybrid version?
That's the cheapest plug-in hybrid.
Okay. Because they had introduced a lower trim level of the PHEV a couple of years ago, but they must have discontinued it.
Oh, for 2024, the price starts at 53.
Ooh.
53,425.
But you can get a tax credit on this because it has a 16 kilowatt-hour battery.
You get the $7,500.
Yeah, this is one of the
cheap. Then it's a bargain now.
You get the whole shebang.
Yeah, this is one of the few vehicles still eligible for tax credits because it's built in North America.
One of all three of them
has a North American built battery. So that's the Chrysler Pacifica hybrid Pinnacle.
I like that Chrysler Pacifica hybrid.
I like the Pacifica.
I've driven it a bunch. I drove it a long time ago for a video. I've driven it. I've gotten it when I rent cars. I've gotten it a few times. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Or should I say, fantastic?
Oh.
Ba-dum-bum.
Thank you. I'm here all week, people. All week.
All right. Let's talk about CES.
Womp, womp, womp.
So one of the topics that kept popping up all over the place at CES this week, not just for automotive, but for everything, was AI. And of course, automotive had to get in on that. And the first press conference of the day on Monday morning was Volkswagen, where they announced that now you get ChatGPT in your Volkswagen if you're in Europe and driving any of the electrics or the new Golf or the Tiguan, the new Tiguan, I think.
So how is that going to make your life better?
So I got a demo from them. So they for their standard voice recognition system, they use a company called Cerence. Cerence used to be part of Nuance. A couple of years back, Nuance, which has been the long time leader in voice recognition systems for all kinds of applications, spun off their automotive division as Cerence. So Cerence supplies the voice recognition for Volkswagen and a lot of other automakers. And we've talked before about voice recognition in Volkswagens, and basically how miserable it is. It generally has a really hard time recognizing what you're asking for. But in this case, what they've done is they've added a connection from the voice recognition system to ChatGPT. So the version of the voice recognition systems I've tried in VWs up until now were the older type that the whole system was embedded in the vehicle. So it just used whatever they could fit into the computer in the car to do that, which means you had limited vocabulary capabilities. You had to give it very specific commands to get what you wanted. And then it often still didn't recognize what you were looking for, especially if you're looking for a point of interest. The new version that Cerence has is their Chat Pro system, which is a hybrid system, which has a component that sits in the vehicle, but also uses the vehicle connectivity to do voice recognition in the cloud. That system works better, but it still has a limited, it's not as limited, but it still has a limited vocabulary. So what happens is when you say, "Hey, Ida is the name of the voice assistant that's what they call it in European VWs. And you say, "Hey, Ida," and you ask it for something. If what you ask it for matches one of the commands that the Cerence system understands, then it just processes it locally. No problem at all, just as it always has. But if you ask it for something that the system doesn't know how to process, then it sends that to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT reformats it into a command that the system can recognize and sends that back to the system, and then it processes it locally. So an example that they did in the demo, and there's a link in the show notes to the video of this demo. The example, one of the examples they gave was, "Hey, Ida, find Italian restaurants nearby." And so it just processed that find and said, it popped up a list of Italian restaurants in the nav system. Then the person from Cerence said, "Hey, Ida, I'm in the mood for I'm in the mood for pasta." And so it sent that "I'm in the mood for pasta" to ChatGPT, which reformatted that into "find Italian restaurants nearby." It interpreted that as you want Italian food and you probably want an Italian restaurant, and sends that back. And then it came up with the same list. So what it's doing is it's enabling more natural language processing.
Okay.
Which is a good thing. It can also answer general information questions and queries and do things like the example they gave during the press conference and then also during this demo was, "Tell me a story about dinosaurs." And so ChatGPT makes up a story about dinosaurs, which is fine. I mean, if you're trying to entertain the kids,
Yeah.
Or dinosaur aficionados.
Yes, dinosaur aficionados.
That could
Although
be too.
there's no guarantee that the stuff in the story is going to be factual. So,
it's going to hallucinate the fun word for lie.
Yeah. And the other thing I asked, was, because of the hallucination problem that these things have, if it's something like tell me a story about dinosaurs, doesn't matter if it makes something up because it's all made up anyway. Because dinosaurs never existed, right?
There's no dinosaurs.
It was a hoax.
They only existed when people were around, like the Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly.
Meet the Flintstones.
But if you ask it for certain controversial topics, for example, certain political things about things that may be happening in the world, it does have filters in there. So anything like that, it will just say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
You can't ask it about sex either.
No, you can't ask it about that either.
So
there are limitations. So they're trying to make sure that, where what you're looking for is factual information, it will give you factual information. So it's not going to make up a list of restaurants. And that's why, for asking navigation, to provide more natural language processing for the navigation, it's actually doing that processing locally. So all it's doing is reformatting your query and then sending that back and then searching the point of interest database in your navigation system. So as long as that is up to date, that's what you're going to get.
Okay, that kind of all makes sense. At first I was sort of like, why would you need ChatGPT for this? Like, how would this help? But
I got to tell me about SAE International.
Did it do a good job?
It did a good job. It gave us the whole spiel. It just kept going and going. I'm like, all right, well, I got it. So yeah. So I played with it for a few minutes, and then I had the same sort of demo that Sam had, and if you need better voice recognition in your car, then you can't do it, find a partner that can. Cerence can do it, and if you can, I don't know, get it to say, make up stories about dinosaurs, apparently you can do that as well.
And VW wasn't the only one with language models in their integrated in their cars. BMW announced a partnership with Amazon, so they're using Amazon's large language model. And Mercedes showed the CLA concept that they had in Munich, and they talked, they gave some more details on that thing, and that's also using a large language model. But that one was developed with NVIDIA, which is providing a lot of the computing power for the next generation of Mercedes EVs that includes the new CLA. And that, so the production model is based on that. That's based on the new Mercedes modular architecture. So that's their next generation EVs. Those are coming out next year. And that's going to have a large language model built into it as part of the voice assistant and a whole bunch of other interesting stuff.
I like that it's MMA. So then people are going to be like, oh, I want to see how the SEO works on that.
How confused it becomes.
Yeah. But that CLA looks really nice in person. I think
that's a sharp looking car.
Yeah, I think, the EQ lineup is, the SUVs look fine, but the sedans are questionable. Blobby. Blobby, I think, is the word. I think the EQE looks better than the EQS.
Blobby?
But
like
blobby
blob, like the blob. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look very blobby. And it's funny because you look at the CLA and you look at the EQE. Was it the EQE right next to it? Anyway, one of them, the EQE was next to it, and you can see sort of the resemblance. But it's like when you go to high school and there's like two brothers or two sisters or a brother and a sister, and one of them's like super hot and the other one's just okay. And there's like, well, I can see the resemblance, but one of you clearly got a little extra something in the womb. I don't know what it is.
It's not the cars, not the
skins. Yeah.
Oh,
one of you got the little extra something.
And I like the 3-pointed, the Mercedes star in the lights, in the headlights and the tail lights. I think that's a fun little touch. Yeah,
that's pretty dope.
Yeah,
makes you feel. I remember that used to be a $500. That's if you drive around, you ever see a Mercedes with the star it's lit up. That's $500.
That's a star light up.
That's right? A $500 option, and now I can get an ID4 with the exact same thing. And I feel like people are with those Mercedes for like years, are like, look at me, look how cool I am. And then like the Volks, like the boring
Volkswagen. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, the little boring ID4, which again, it was built to be boring. It's just that's not a slight against the ID4. for. It's just built to be boring, a boring SUV.
It's achieved its purpose.
It's achieved its purpose. Has the same thing. You're like, oh.
All right. Well, let's go back to Honda now.
Honda.
And as has often been said over the last decade, CES is now perhaps the most important auto show in the world. And there's not as many automakers at this show this year as there have been at some of the recent auto shows at least in Europe and in Japan, Munich and Tokyo. There were more automakers than there were at CES, but there were certainly some more interesting cars being shown at CES than there were at the Detroit Auto Show last September. And among those were the new Honda Series Zero concepts. You want to tell us about those, Robbie?
So the one of them is a saloon, which is a fancy word for awesome station wagon, and the other is a van. Now, if you've listened to the show for more than 5 minutes, you know that I love vans and station wagons. So I saw the pictures of them on, they sent out photos, and I was like, oh, okay, these look fine, well, whatever. And then I went they look so much better in real life. So much better, and the saloon looks like a little bit like a Countach, and like the best way possible. Not like Countach engineering, Countach design, because Countach engineering is not something you want to strive for. But no, they look really cool. I went over to the booth, and the booth you could not tell it was the Honda booth for whatever reason, and it was just a bunch of people around some stuff. So
apparently
of course,
they didn't have the budget for signs.
Yeah, they spent all their money on giant screens and cool concepts. But you walk over there and it's just like so many people around it. It was like a club that you're like, well, what kind of club is this? And you walk over and you're like, oh, these are here. So I took some photos and I looked at it. And I'm a big fan. Both of them look great. I mean, obviously, neither of them are going to come out looking like this.
Well, the van, which is called the Space Hub, apparently isn't coming out at all. At least not in North America.
Of course not.
But the saloon,
America.
Jessica Feeney from Honda told me that this, and Chris Martin also told me the same thing. The saloon is actually the first Series Zero production model in 2026 is actually supposed to carry over a lot of the design features of the saloon.
So not quite, but mostly.
Yeah.
Is that wackadoodle grill going to stay or lack thereof? It looks like a giant. It makes me think of the front of a dustbuster.
Yes.
It hoovers up the bad things in your life.
I'm not quite sure I like that.
It does look better in person than it does.
It does. It looks really cool in person. In person, I was like, oh, this looks cool.
But in this picture, it's a dustbuster mobile.
It does kind of look like a dustbuster, or you just grab it by the little handle, clean up.
Right. It's going to clean everything up.
Small oopsies. The cat knocks over a plant or something.
The other thing that surprised me about the saloon is how big it is. I mean,
it's very big.
This is a large car. It's fairly low, but it's very long. It's bigger than any production sedan that Honda's ever built by a fairly wide margin.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope. That's your word of the episode. It's second or third time.
It's dope. You know what? Because I went to go buy an album this week and they didn't have it, and so I ended up buying something else. But the album I went to buy was MF Doom, and for some reason MF Doom just makes me want to use the word dope. Okay. I don't know why, but I got Boy Genius, which is completely the same thing. Music people in the podcast are now yelling at their speakers. They're like, that's not the same thing at all. So R.I.P. MF Doom, by the way. R.I.P.
So the Series Zero is the branding that they're going to use on their next generation of EVs, and it sounds like the Prologue and the ZDX, Acura ZDX, are going to be one and done models for Honda's partnership with GM on EVs. Kind of like when they partnered with Isuzu for SUVs in the 1990s.
Oh, the Rodeo.
Yeah.
The Rodeo.
Yeah. Well, that was the Isuzu version, and the Honda version was the original Passport. So the original Honda Passport was just a rebadged Isuzu Rodeo. And then they did that. I think they actually did 2 generations of that, but then they brought out the Honda Pilot, and it's been all pure Honda SUVs ever since that. And the same thing is true here with the Prologue and the ZDX. You know, they wanted to get some kind of EVs on the road, but then they're developing their own EV platform, and that's what's the basis of these two concepts.
When I went to meet with Honda and their CEO and their head of electrification in Japan in October of 2022, they were very much like, we're doing this one thing, but now we're going for it. We're all in on EVs. So they seem very excited, and I felt that was Honda's not, clearly they're later than other people, but I think I've said before, it's a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to EVs. It's
yep.
Honda's going to come in. They're going to do that Honda thing, hopefully, and people are going to be very excited. A lot of people send me messages. Why doesn't Honda have an EV? Like it's my fault.
Yeah, work on that, would you, Robbie?
I'm like, well, I don't know. They're just slow to it. They're working with GM. They're like, I want a Honda Civic electric. I want a Honda Accord that's electric. That's all I want. I'm like, okay, I'll tell them, I guess.
I would love to have an electric Civic.
Yeah, I'll tell them. I guess it's on me. I'm sorry.
Come on, step up.
I apologize.
Like an electric Civic, make it happen, Robbie.
Yeah.
I apologize to the fans of VTEC that I have not made a big enough stink every time I talk to someone from Honda.
Our Civic is 7 years old. You know, it's going to be time to replace it in a couple of years. You know, we want an electric Civic.
I think you got 7 years old. You got another 8 years. So you got a good 15 years on that thing. And anyway, I just rode a electric Honda when I drove the Motocompacto.
That is true.
So get off my case. So technically, I rode the first modern. Somehow there was the Clarity, but the Clarity was the Clarity.
Yeah. I don't think my wife wants to ride a Motocompacto to,
if you get
to the gym or
it'd
to
be great in the
Whole
weather
Foods.
we've got going on right now, right? What is it, 7 you said there or something?
Yeah.
It'd be perfect weather for it.
Is it 7 or -7? That's a big difference.
Well, it was almost -7 this morning.
Okay, so that's
-5.
That's a tough ride to the gym.
Yeah, it got up to a high of 7.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Woo!
And I don't think that, that with the ice and, packed snow and stuff on the roads, I don't think the Motocompacto would do very well on this stuff.
It would have a little trouble.
it would be challenged. Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah, it's got small tires, and those tires definitely are not made for snow. They're not Blizzaks. They don't have like teeny tiny Blizzaks. I'm going to see Bridgestone in a few weeks. I will ask them if they can make teeny tiny Blizzaks for the
there you go, little Blizzaks.
They're like, what are you talking about? You're like, wait, hold. You want us to make? Okay, you want 3-inch, 4-inch tires for 1,000 people? I'm like, yeah. Not everyone's gonna need them. Just the people who bought a Motocompacto who want to ride in the snow. So really, 5 people.
Okay.
Sam, his wife, and 3 other crazy people.
Mike Austin. Yeah.
Mike Austin. There's 3 people.
Yeah. That's right. You got to market. It's worth it. The engineering effort is worth it.
The engine, all of that is worth it.
Yeah. All right. So Lidar. There was a surprising number of Lidar announcements at CES.
Pew, pew. That's the sound Lidar makes. So you didn't know that if you
have either of you ever seen Lidar on a production car?
A production car? Okay, wait, hold on.
Well, you have, Robbie.
I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because the Lucid Air has a Lidar sensor on it.
Yeah.
I guess I have then.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And it's from a Chinese company called RoboSense. And RoboSense and Hesai are the 2 largest manufacturers of Lidar in the world. Can you guess how many cars are expected to be sold in China this year with Lidar on them?
Oh god.
Wait. Are we talking about models or the total amount of cars?
Total unit volume. How many vehicles will be sold in China this year with Lidar?
1.5 million.
Nicole?
I have to pick a number. Oh my gosh, is this like 1.4 million?
They're projecting 2 million cars with Lidar this year in China.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 million.
And RoboSense and Hesai are both shipping about 50,000 Lidar sensors a month now. Which is, way more than anybody else. That's amazing. And they have new sensors that they introduced at CES that are high performance lidars that are for the Chinese market, where they generally tend to drive lower speeds than we do here. they don't necessarily need as long a range. They don't need LiDAR sensors with 400 meters of range, because, if you're not going that fast, 150, 200-meter LiDAR sensor is fine. But they both launched 300-meter LiDAR sensors the last week that are going to be priced at about $500. And it wasn't that long ago that LiDAR sensors with that kind of range would cost many thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And even the like the Luminar Iris LiDAR that Mercedes is using and Volvo is using, those are close to $1,000 for those. So the Chinese LiDAR companies are getting really aggressive, and both companies are also looking at adding production capacity outside of China, like in North America or somewhere else close by, to target these markets here. So if they can sell LiDAR sensors with 300-meter range at $500 or less, that's
that's a big deal.
Yeah, you're gonna start seeing a lot of LiDAR showing up on cars.
And get one on my Motocompacto.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Along with that and your Blizzax.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna have the best Motocompacto.
I've got just the LiDAR sensor for you, Robbie. The Preact Preact Technologies Mojave. I've got one upstairs on my desk that they sent me to try out. It's a little it's actually designed for like stationary applications, for use in like hospitals and stuff, to track patients, if patients, fall out of the bed, or, if they fall down, go into the bathroom, things like that, so they can use the LiDAR to see where the patient's moving around, but, you still have privacy because it's not a regular camera. So, it's a relatively shorter range LiDAR, but it'd be perfect to Velcro that onto the front of a Motocompacto. Tie it into your brake system.
I feel like I need one of these for the band, because if we put a LiDAR in front, like for the Daft Punk thing that we're doing next month, we put I've been looking for a cheap LiDAR. I put it on top of something, and then we show video of people dancing with LiDAR on them, like the Radiohead video from like the early 2000s. So I'm ripping off Radiohead from like 20 years ago.
Well, maybe I'm playing around with this one right now, but maybe when I'm done with it, I can send it to you, and you can try it out that way.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right. And then Luminar that I mentioned, they're kind of the leader in LiDAR in North America, among American LiDAR companies now. They're launching, they've had their first LiDAR sensor in production on a car in China, the SAIC R7, since late 2022, but it's launching in the next few months on the Polestar 3 and on the Volvo EX90, and then next year on the Mercedes CLA and other MMA models. They've been doing for the last couple of years at CES. They've been, and other events, they've been doing these demos where they have their the LiDAR on their test vehicle, running side by side with a Tesla, and having little mannequins of child-sized mannequins that run out in front of the car, and using that for to demonstrate automatic emergency braking. And inevitably, they do this at like 35 miles an hour. Inevitably, the Luminar equipped car, detects the child and comes to a stop without hitting the child, and the Tesla runs right over the child without even slowing down.
Oh, children.
Yeah. And this year they upgraded their demo, and what they did was they've added in not just the automatic emergency braking, but automatic steering. So now it actually does a steering maneuver, and so they have a shorter distance before the child runs out from behind a car, and so it's not enough time for it to stop, but it automatically steers and does an evasive maneuver, and then comes to a stop because there's a little mini spare tire laying on the pavement in front of it, and they're able to detect all this with the LiDAR. So it's a pretty good demo. I'll have a link in the in the show notes to a video from some TV reporter who got really exceptionally excited by the demo, but you can still get an idea of the demo.
Except I've never been in a car.
Anyway,
I've never felt more alive.
So both of you have EV chargers at home, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you have like a wall box?
I do have a wall box that we plug it into, and it just sits there. Or my wife just sort of hangs it on the little thing. She doesn't plug it in all the time. She's like, I gotta get to work.
Yeah, ours is hardwired into our garage.
Ours is we plug ours into a NEMA plug-in that's on the outside of our house, and it goes through a fence, and then boop, there's our charger on the fence.
So I also have one. It's actually just inside the garage door, and when I'm using it, I just pull the cord outside under the garage door to plug in whatever's parked outside. The Eaton is a company that's been around for a long time to make all kinds of stuff. It's until relatively recently, it's been mostly mechanical stuff, but in the last few years, they've got into making charging equipment. And I got to walk around with their engineers, and they showed me their latest thing, which is their EV charging smart breakers. So basically, this is a little miniature EV charger. It's essentially looks like a double breaker, but like you would use for a 240 volt circuit.
Yeah.
And you plug it right into your panel, and then all you need to do is run a wire out from the panel out to the with the charge connector on the end of it, and plug in your car. So or you can have a junction box or just an outlet in your garage, to plug in, whatever cord you got with your car. And so this little double breaker style adapting thing that you put into your electrical panel has all of the connectivity stuff to talk to the car, talk to your network, to manage the charging, as well as the charging circuit itself for a 240 volt charging circuit. And you can get these for residential use, but their real target market for this is like parking garages and apartment buildings, things like that, where they can just have an electrical panel there in the garage, put 10 or 12 of these things in there, and just run the cable through it, run a conduit with the outlets, and not have to install all these wall boxes or pedestals in a parking garage. Makes it a lot easier, a lot cheaper to do that. But pretty cool little design that they have.
Yeah, I mean, because there's an app too.
Yeah,
there's an app.
Is the app worth it? Oh, I didn't even think there was an app. I was like, you just set the scheduling through the car itself, because all the EVs
you can schedule it through the car, or you can use the app to schedule it.
Oh, that's great. Because sometimes I have people, someone visits and they have a PHEV or an EV, and we just plug it in. And they're like, well, it's not going to charge until midnight. So, and they're like, oh, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah, you can also use it, to monitor, charging, use the app to monitor charging. So, if the car gets unplugged or something like that, or if it's in a public location, if they want to charge for if they want to charge you money for charging, you can do that through that as well.
Yeah, they got an open API port platform. Man, this is pretty dope.
Yeah.
Dope. That's everyone drink. Awesome. This is awesome.
That's really very cool.
Yeah.
There we go. That's another word we could use. Cool. Rad.
Cool. Rad.
So easier installation, less cluttered.
Yeah. Just big giant thing.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of chargers in, and some of them were so bright. I would go out, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like my whole driveway, like all three cars would be like this big green or blue light just on everything. I'm like, the neighbors are gonna have to find this annoying, right? I mean, it was obviously no one lives in my driveway, but it just seems like, okay, this is bright.
So flying cars. When are we getting our flying cars?
Never, because cars are not if cars are cars, helicopters
Planes
or
are
quads or
planes.
whatever, flying machines are flying machines.
Yes.
Stop trying to make flying cars a thing. Because it's just like the jack of all trades for the master of none. If a flying car is always A, bad at driving, and B, bad at flying. And the second one is not something you want to be bad at.
True. Very true. So what do you think about the Xpeng AeroHT?
Is that how you say it? I literally was looking like Xpeng. Is that how you say that?
Xpeng.
Yes.
You guys, it doesn't look like that at all, spelling wise. I had no idea how to pronounce the name of this.
It's spelled Xpeng, but it's Xpeng.
Xpeng.
So what do you think of the AeroHT?
I looked at it and then I walked away because I didn't understand. I didn't see the point. Every time I see these things.
One there?
Yeah.
Well, they had. They had a physical thing on their stand. I'm pretty sure that it's not actually functional.
No,
because I think they're saying they expect to have first flights later this year.
Yeah, man.
But I mean this is a nominally a car that has 4 things that fold back into the back of the car. Rotors fold up, 4 arms that fold back into the back. When you want to use it to fly, they fold out to the sides. So it's not like you could be sitting in traffic and decide, I don't want to be in this traffic jam. I'm going to take off. There's no room, because these things go out, several meters on either side.
It still requires a runway of some kind, right?
No, it doesn't require a runway. I mean, it's vertical takeoff and landing. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's just a drone.
Really big parking lot.
It's a car with a drone shoved on top of it, is what it is.
A very large drone.
And it doesn't make. I just don't understand.
This thing is very long, but it's a 2-seater. So it's really not very practical.
It doesn't make. What? Why? Why
not?
Why? I guess. I don't know. Because
they can, maybe. Maybe they can. We don't know because they haven't actually flown it yet. You got a lot of cool videos. The problem
with the fly, well, in the United States, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how it works in other countries because I don't live there. But at the I talked to the FAA like years ago about this sort of thing, and they're just like, oh, they still have to follow the rules. So they still have to get, they still have to become pilots. They still have to become, you still have to be certified. I talked to, Supernal. I just want to call them Supernal. Hyundai's flying machine. And they were like, I'm like, what about pilots? They're like, well, we want pilots, and then they have to take they have to get a, we're looking at probably having a certification in addition to already having a pilot's license. So do you want people who are just like, hey, I got my car, now I'm gonna fly around and
no, I don't want that.
No, yeah, I don't know. It's just something everyone comes out with. It's always sort of weird. It never really makes sense. Like if you're gonna drive somewhere, you drive. If you're gonna fly somewhere, you get a flying machine. That's it. That's the thing. You don't need both. Even the cars that float, no one ever really got into those.
Yeah. What was that one called? They have those in
the Amphicar.
They have those at Disney World. You can like ride in them. You pay, I don't know, $80, and you can all ride.
Oh yeah, the rubber duckies or whatever they call. They always have them, and like cities have them.
No, it's literally Amphicars. Like they literally have them at Disney World.
Oh, those little ones?
Disney Springs. They have I think you can fit 4 people in them. 4?
Yeah, they were built back in the 60s, I think, 50s or 60s.
Yeah. And you can actually go for a ride in one because I did because I had to.
Did you?
I was like, I got to ride in this.
Yeah, you have to legally. Like if there was one here, legally, I would be
as an automotive journalist. It is your responsibility.
You can't just walk by that.
Yeah, it's your responsibility.
Just walk by. You're like, hold up, everybody, we need to go ride this little thing and pay or whatever. There was some fee for it, and they take you out there. Guy wears a little captain's hat.
Oh, you don't get to drive it? Oh, boo.
You don't know because it's like on an open
lake.
Not an open. It's like a lake, and you could probably ruin them. And they're old.
Body of water.
They're really old. What did you say, Sam? When were they around? Was it the 60s?
I think they were built in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yet they didn't catch on. How weird.
Yeah.
Because you can just get a car.
I mean, it's a convertible. What could go wrong?
I mean, they look kind of cool. They look nifty because they roll right out of the water.
The first one when they rode it into the water just rolled.
They were built between 1960 and 65. 3,878 of them were built.
All right, there you go. So did not take off as much as they thought they would. But Disney bought some.
Well, I read a story on them. I had read a story years ago on those, and like, there's like a little like get together, people who collect them, like a specifically for that.
Oh yeah,
There's
they show up at car shows and stuff all the time.
yeah,
Vintage
but
car
they have their
shows.
own little like fan shows, or all the people who own them get together and talk about their cool little cars that weren't.
There's always a few of them at the Woodward Dream Cruise here in the summer.
Are there? They're
Yeah,
so cool. I love them. They're ridiculous, but I love them.
yeah, and at the Orphan Car Show that they do here in Ypsilanti in September, there's always at least one of those that shows up for the Orphan Car Show.
Oh,
there you go.
So yeah, the Amphicar. But that I think I have a feeling that there will be more. There are more Amphicars that were built than there will ever be of the Xpeng AeroHT.
Yeah, I really think it's just a thing. They're like, hey, we have some money. Let's have a boondoggle. Let's like show it off at a CES. A bunch of people will take pictures of it, and then they'll know who Xpeng is.
Yeah, but the Supernal. I mean, that's
legit.
In 2020, Hyundai announced a partnership with Uber to do air taxis, and they had this giant mock-up hanging in the Hyundai booth. I mean, this thing is large.
It was huge. It was crazy, and it looked like it was from like Avatar.
Yeah,
the first year. I did video with it, and I was so tired. I was like, hey, there's a thing. Look at that. I looked like a drunk person talking about a flying machine.
But you were at now the relationship with Uber has ended. Uber decided, we're not going to pursue this urban air mobility thing because it's probably never going to make any money. So Hyundai's got this division that they're now calling Supernal. And you were at the reveal of the SA2, right?
Yes, it was really cool. It was I took a little video, and they seem to be doing all the correct things. I interviewed the executives after it. It's still, you're essentially just replacing helicopters is what these things are. They're quieter than helicopters, even though, one of the original issues with these, sort of quad, octo, these drone type vehicles, they were so loud. Like even the little ones were so loud. So, you have certain regulations you have to adhere to in cities. And so this one, apparently it's as loud as your dishwasher. Like 68 decibels or something goofy like that. Was it 65 decibels taking off and 45 while cruising horizontally?
That's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
So at what altitude?
It goes up to, I believe, 1,500 feet. There we go. 120 miles. It does 25 to 40 mile trips. They're going to have to figure out how to, when we talk to them, they, like say in LA, and they're very forward. They're like, we don't know exactly how this is going to work out. Like we're talking with the FAA, we're talking with cities, we're trying to figure out how to make this work, but we're definitely building the flying machine. And one of the things they were talking about is like they'll essentially have like tunnels, like air tunnels, like not an actual tunnel, but like a guide for them. Yeah, a corridor for them to fly through busy cities. Like in LA, you have like multiple in LA proper, you have multiple airports. You have Burbank, you have LAX, you have Ontario, you have Long Beach, you have John Wayne, you have all these airports. And so they essentially have to stay out of all the way of all these. And so in order to do that, they have like paths that they have to fly through. And so they're working with the FAA and they're working with all these local places on how to create these paths so you can fly from, let's say, downtown LA to, I don't know, Malibu or something, that seems like a rich person thing that you could do. So it's they're trying to figure it out, whether or not it works out at the end of the day. In cities is that's really you're talking with the FAA has to like, well, you need to figure they want to keep people safe in the air. That's the big deal.
Sure, of course. With a 45-mile range, I mean, is this even useful?
It's for rich people. It's like the helicopters. Lots of people get
helicopters can go a lot more than 45 miles.
45 miles.
Yeah, but these are actually.
You can fly in a helicopter from Los Angeles to San Diego without any problem.
That's true.
Or
you can
Los
ask Mike
Angeles to
Amusio.
Santa Barbara.
Michael Musi will tell me that all day. Yeah, and it'll ride 4 people. It's going to have a person in it. They sort of like, they're like, well, eventually if AI ever gets bad enough, but they're very much like, it'll have a person. Again, it all comes down to, is there a market for this? Do people want to fly from this part of town to this part of town? From here to here without dealing with traffic with the rest of us schlubs.
That's the hoi polloi.
The hoi polloi. Like, one of the issues with events in San Francisco is that the SFO is south of San Francisco, and where everyone drives is in Napa, which is north of San Francisco, which means you have to go through San Francisco or around.
Take the Bay Bridge and go around.
And then you get stuck in the maze over on the Oakland side, and you got to take it's a whole. Either way, it's a bustling city, so there's a lot of traffic. And so every time people come here, they're like, "Oh, it took me 2 hours to get something that's only 40 miles away." So you have like things like that. It's an air taxi for a market of, I'm assuming, very well-off people. But how does it make money initially? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it, because they have the technology. It's just, is there the market, and are municipalities going to allow it? And of course the FAA, who's like, they're the kings of the sky.
That's never going to happen. They're never going to allow it.
Oh, the FAA. When I talked to them, they were very open to it. They're open to the idea of it because they're like, yeah, whatever. As long as you're following the rules.
Oh, I guess they're following
that's the rules. Their big deal.
And I think the FAA has said that they plan to have a certification system for these types of vehicles, for these what they call electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOLs, sometime by mid-year this year, because there's several other companies doing this, like Joby and I forget the other ones now, that want to start doing some testing, beyond just their prototype testing, sometime this year. Did Supernal say when they actually expect to have flying prototypes? Because I don't think they do right now, do they?
I don't think they have I think they're going to have it next year. I wrote it down. It's in one of my thousands and thousands of pages of notes or recordings of when they were going to have ones flying. You know what? This makes a lot of sense. Hawaii.
Oh.
Well,
because those whole like flying around Hawaii tours.
Again, though, that 45-mile range might not be enough.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
I mean, even on an island like Kauai, if you're going from the south side of Kauai around to Nepali, that's going to be,
how far is that?
That's
12 miles. I don't know. Kauai's not very big.
It's probably about 25, 30 miles, by air, if you're flying out over the water, to go around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget the name of that harbor. But yeah, I mean,
it's 73 miles across. So
yeah,
and you have to take off, essentially. Most of them take off from near the airport. So I mean, you can kind of go, you can kind of make it. I think they had like 120 miles of range. What was the range number they gave me?
I thought I read 45 for this thing.
That's the type of trips they're doing. The actual range is much longer. No, they're because they're thinking like we'll do 3 or 4 like 20 to 30, 20 to 40 mile trips. No, the actual range is like 100 and something.
Okay.
So they could do it. That's what I was thinking, because they're quieter than helicopters. Last time we went to Kauai, we took a plane. It was pretty cool.
Did it fly around the island?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It's a pretty sweet deal, except every once in a while you hear about a helicopter falling out of the sky. Which is
that has been known to happen.
That's always a challenge.
Yeah, it's a lot tougher to, and with these, if one of the propellers stops, you still got 7 more.
Yeah. That is an advantage to these over a traditional helicopter. Is you've got some redundancy there, so it should be
a lot of redundancy.
At least safely get you to the ground.
Yeah, so you got that going for you, which is nice.
All right, the Detroit Auto Show. It's been kind of sad the last couple of years when they moved it to September. So they've decided to go back to January next year.
I don't.
I'm fine with January, but it's not so much they move it to January. It's that it's on top of the
CES.
CES.
You know, the thing we just talked about, all the news coming from.
Yeah. My guess. My guess is that the Detroit Auto Dealers Association is probably giving up on having the Detroit show be a media event like it has been in the past, and they're just going back to it being purely a consumer event. Which
is fine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
go to an auto show. They're fun. You get to look at cars. Sometimes you get to get inside of them. You know, on the less busy days, and no one's gonna come up to you and be like, "Hey, you want to buy a car? Want to buy a car? We got one in the back.
Got a car in the back for you."
Yeah. So for regular people, I remember going to the auto show. Just walk around, look around, have a nice time, eat a hot dog or maybe some nachos. Get your sticky, gross hands on the steering wheel of some sort of new Ford or Chevy. It's good times.
Yeah, because the scheduled dates for the public show next year are January 10th to the 20th. The 10th is the Friday, the same day that CES finishes, the last day of CES. So if they were to have a media preview, that's going to be a day or two before that, which is going to be right in the middle of CES. Nobody's going to show up for that.
Oh, I didn't even think. I thought the 10th was the media day.
No. Because that's the Friday. That's when they have
say it again, Sam. We didn't even follow the first day of the Detroit Auto Show is the last day of CES.
Yeah, January 10th, 2025.
January 10th is the first day of the public auto show, which means
oh my God, so
media days will be 2 days before.
Oh, for the love! I thought it was the media day was the.
Yeah, so did I. No, that's a bad scene. I have only been to the Detroit Auto Show once, and that was this year, and it was sad, and it was only because I went to the battery show in Novi.
So you were in town anyway. So
I was in town anyway. But the way it always worked out is I worked at Engadget, when I started covering cars, and then I worked at Car and Driver, and I don't need to go to Detroit if I work at Car and Driver because everyone else works there. But every year they were like, "Hey, are you going to go to the Detroit show?" And we fortunately had 2 people at Engadget who lived in Detroit, so there was absolutely no reason for me to get on a plane, fly to Detroit after spending 9 days in Las Vegas, and then covering cars. We had someone there, and then most of the time there wasn't really that much news anyway because everyone was going over to CES where they get a much larger audience of people to cover them.
Yeah, I mean, up until 2019. For years, I was doing a week at CES and then coming home and I would have maybe a day off and then straight into the Detroit show.
Oof.
I can't believe they did that until this podcast I had in my head that I thought it was the media day that overlapped. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
for the peoples.
Yeah.
If you go to the Detroit show, you want to see trucks and Fords.
For the consumer, that's fine. But if they're trying to create any kind of news whatsoever, that's
my guess is they've just given up on that because I think Stellantis has already said they're not doing auto shows anymore.
Ever?
And
or is it just for now?
Not for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they said they're done with auto shows. They're just going to do their own events, and that leaves Ford and GM. I can't imagine any of the foreign automakers coming back to the Detroit show. So that's Ford and GM. Ford, they had a refreshed F-150 this year, and GM had a refreshed Cadillac CT5.
Oh yeah, I remember watching that. We're like, oh, and you're looking at the old one, you're looking at the new one. You're like, wait, what am I missing? Oh, I see it. I see it.
It's like tweaks to the front fascia, the lower front.
Yeah, little front fascia tweaks.
Add a new dashboard. It does get a new dashboard. That is
nice.
more prominent.
That's
yeah. Well, that's the end of the Detroit show.
Yeah, I don't understand why they did that. Why?
The winter is so. Maybe you need. I don't.
Actually,
do people need something to do in the winter?
Yeah, I mean, as a consumer show, it actually makes more sense to do it in the winter.
I get that. I get the winter move. It's the overlap I don't get. I guess I just totally don't care about the media coverage.
It probably has to do with availability of the convention center. And just the dates that it was available. Those were the dates they could get. They probably couldn't do it a week later or 2 weeks later.
Is it at
Yeah.
it's downtown, right? So I think the
Yeah,
battery show is going to be there too. So
Yeah, the
in
battery show is
September.
actually
might
moving
be
to
there.
Huntington Place, but that's in September.
That's in September.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So with
Oh,
the
wow.
original dates that they had planned for the show for this year, so the 2024 show isn't auto show isn't happening, but it was going to be like on a couple of consecutive weeks. Yeah, so or there was going to be like a week in between the battery show and the auto show. But now there's just not going to be an auto show in September. It'll just be
Yeah.
in January.
Yeah. Oh, the battery show's in October this year, so it's going to be a
that's
little
it,
bit
yeah.
colder.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay.
No, not necessarily. October was pretty warm here.
Yeah, that could
past
be
year.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay then.
Yeah, October is pretty nice around here.
All right. I just want Mike Austin to bring his Honda Beat so I can drive around the parking lot again. That's all. I just want the opportunity to drive Mike Austin's car around. That's all I care about. If it's on, it's going to be fine in October. I'm fine.
Yeah, you'll definitely be able to drive that around.
Whew.
All right. Android Auto. One of the main reasons that GM gave for dropping smartphone projection from their EVs is so that they could integrate real-time vehicle information into Google Maps and stuff for routing and to find chargers and figure out how far can you go before you need a charge, all this stuff. Well, now last week at CES, Google announced that Android Auto is basically getting that capability for automakers that want to supply the real-time battery state of charge data to the Android Auto version of Google Maps. They'll now be able to do that, and Ford's going to be the first one to launch that on the Mach-E and
Cool.
and F-150 Lightning. So in Google Maps in there, you'll be able to see the current battery state of charge, estimated state of charge when you get to your destination, it'll give you suggestions where chargers are going to be along the way. I don't know if it'll be quite as sophisticated as what they do in apps like a Better Route Planner, where it can give you options of, find the fastest route to your destination, how long should you stay in charge, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of what GM's doing will be in Android Auto. It's unclear if Apple is going to have this capability in CarPlay or not. But Ford is actually doing a briefing on Wednesday this week in a couple of days on their next generation in-car systems, and so might get a little more detail on exactly how this is all going to work.
Well, they have it. Okay, so Ford worked with Apple to get EV routing in CarPlay a while back.
Okay, so they have that in there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know that Apple can be difficult to work with.
Just a little.
Just a little. That's,
A skosh.
a skosh. But with Google Maps, it's only on the Android phones too right now. It's not on Apple phones with CarPlay.
iPhones?
With Google. Yeah, it's not iPhones. That was
phones.
Apple phones.
Apple
That's not
phones.
the
I heard you get stuck. iPhones.
But the fact that Ford is willing to work with both of these companies to make this a reality is great. I'm really I wrote a big screed a long time ago that Apple and why hasn't Apple and Google done this? Because we're all using their maps, and they should figure out a way to do it. And so now they figured out a way. So that's pretty great, especially when my car doesn't have any sort of my car doesn't have mapping at all, because it's they're like, you're going to use your phone. Just use your phone.
Oh,
yeah. Just use your phone. It's like when when the Smart 4.2 first came out, they're like, yeah, there's a little thing you put your phone in because you're not don't even bother. It's like,
It's going to be your phone.
It's going to be your phone. The phone's the thing you're used to. The phone's the thing you take everywhere. So no, this is great. I think it's good for people who feel comfortable with Google Maps versus whatever the in-car map situation is. And it'll be nice as more and more automakers support this, and of course as more and more devices support it. So kudos to Ford and Google. High fives to them both.
And they're also adding more apps. Excuse me, on vehicles that have Android Automotive, where it's all built into the car. So they're starting off with they've got a beta version of the Chrome browser that you can run in Polestar and Volvo cars.
Cool.
And a Weather Channel app. And I think, did we talk about Microsoft Teams coming to Android Auto?
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
As someone who's constantly has to deal with Microsoft Teams, I'm not happy about this.
I know.
I thought for some reason, I thought Microsoft Teams was available in CarPlay, so you could like reply with your voice to messages, but I guess not. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't like. The whole Microsoft suite is just it's frustrating, and Teams is not great.
Teams is not great. It's super frustrating.
Do you get to use Teams, Nicole?
I have used it for various things and I hate it.
Yeah, there's like a couple automakers are like, "Hey, welcome to our Teams thing." You're like, "Oh my God, Zoom's right there."
Yeah, every now and then there's something like, "We use Teams." I'm like, "You do?
No.
Awesome."
And it doesn't work well with Apple. Like the fact, like I don't know what the IT department.
It's okay. It doesn't work well with Windows either.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the IT department did to my work computer to make it work, but I remember when I was doing interviews for SAE, like I could not get it to work on my computer, on my MacBook Air. So at the last minute I ended up having to do it on the phone. So I'm holding the phone up doing a very important interview for the job that fortunately I ended up getting. But it's like, "Hi." So I couldn't, and it's like all jiggling around because I didn't put it on a stand, and it's like the last, when I was like, "Oh my gosh." I have plenty of stands that I could have put it on, but I was like, "Oh, I'll just use Teams," and nope.
Well,
so that's coming. Good luck.
Android Auto already has support for WebEx, so I mean, there's that. So I might as well add Teams.
Yeah, you might as well add
all the top
WebEx. They got a real player.
Not yet. I think that's coming.
Oh, finally, we're gonna get real.
But yeah, you'll be able to use the Chrome browser now while you're sitting there waiting for your EV to charge from Polestar and Volvo and presumably others that are using Android Automotive in the coming months.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. I had a chance to sit down with Henrik Fisker last week, which is always entertaining. And we talked about some of the stuff that's going on there. They've had some challenges. They didn't sell as many cars, or they didn't deliver as many cars last year as they were hoping to. And part of that is because in the US they only had 3 stores. Turns out, doing direct to consumer sales for an automaker, it's really expensive. And
you gotta lease some land, you gotta hire some people, you gotta train the people, now you're taking all that
buy tools and equipment, and
you gotta buy the tools, or you could just say, "Hey, you want to be a franchise like a Subway or a McDonald's?"
Yeah. And I mean, everybody, all these startups thought, "Oh yeah, we'll just go to the Tesla route and just sell EVs direct to customers." And it worked okay for Tesla, because when they did that, they were able to get basically free money from the stock market. It's like, "Oh, we need a couple $1 billion more to build more dealerships or whatever, and or more stores and service centers, and so we'll just sell a couple $1 billion worth of shares to the market." But now, the market's not so strong anymore, so companies like Fisker can't do that, and Vinfast.
If Tesla were to launch today, they'd be hosed.
Yeah.
They'd be like in the same boat as everyone else.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh gosh, how are we gonna do this?"
So Henrik is hoping to have 50 dealers by mid-year. And so I've got an interview I did with Henrik last week. And we'll run that here. Before we do that though, anything else you guys want to talk about? Oh, we didn't talk about the VinFast Wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, so I went to the VinFast to the booth, and they had the Wild, and it's definitely a concept car, and it's passed through, and the doors, suicide doors in the back, and all the fancy things you see in all the concept trucks. I didn't care because the VF3, the teeny tiny little VinFast, is my favorite thing in the whole world. I don't care.
Really?
It's so cute. Like, it's just enough room. I could I don't think it has back seats. I don't know. I couldn't see because it was dark, but I could put the dogs in the back and just drive around my little 2-seater. We could go to the park.
Like the Honda Mini E or the Honda E.
It was like a Honda E and a Jimny had a baby. Like they got together, they made sweet love, and then you get the VF.
Cute. I just
right?
Googled. It's adorbs.
Isn't it adorable? You just want to
super cute.
like I shouldn't have rear seats. I hope it doesn't. I don't know. I didn't really even look it up because I'm lazy. But you could throw some people in the back, throw some dogs in the back, or put like a bag of something, a small bag of stuff, and you just cruise around town like a cool little EV. Last night, my wife and I were driving home, and there's a electric 500e for $5,000, the orange one. My wife's like, maybe we should just get rid of the Kona and get this. I'm like, well, it only has like 80 miles of range. She's like, yeah, that's fine. This is the same, when we first got the Kona, she's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to make it work?
This is 125 miles of range.
Yeah, see? Perfect.
Oh, and it's a 4-seater. Oh, it does have a back seat, Rob.
Just fold it down or take it out. Boom, done. Problem solved.
Those back seats are going to be too small for adults anyway.
Yeah, this thing
is really small.
It's tiny. Yeah, it's really
teeny tiny. Yeah,
teeny tiny.
Look at it. It's beautiful. It's cute. It's I don't know. I think you wanted. I want everyone to make it. I think VinFast has a lot of capital behind them, so they have the opportunity. I think they were too soon with the drive program. You can't tell us that better cars are being taken off a boat in San Francisco while you're doing your drive program. I think that was an error on their part. I haven't driven anything new from them. So the newest versions of the cars, the ones that apparently are better, that they told us to our faces, these are the better ones, but you're driving the old ones. So
you should go down to the dealer and take one for a test drive.
I should go down. There's literally one down the street from my house. But when Hyundai came over to the United States, those were horrible cars.
Yeah.
Just complete trash. Like no one should have bought those.
I think VinFast got off to a really rocky start because of that too early.
Too early.
I said at the time, like, just let it cook for another 6 months. You guys, this isn't ready.
Chill.
This is just not ready. Like, hold off. And they didn't. I think if they'd held off, it would have been an entirely different launch experience. I think if
they have held off until the spring and like just did a lot more testing, maybe did a long, I think they probably would have. It wouldn't be the situation that they're in now where people are like, boo.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
I still think they can. I mean, I think
they can make it. Well, I mean, but also they just like got rid of their CEO because the chairman is now the CEO. But I've heard like rumblings.
The old CEO is now the chairman, I think.
But then the old CEO is like she's the I don't know. That right there, that's your issue. Just put someone in charge. Let them do their job. Don't micromanage them. You have a whole other Vin like conglomerate super thing to take care of. I think there was like, we got to move quickly. I think they wanted to move quicker than they should have. And I think someone needs to come in and say,
slow it down.
They're on CEO number 4. You need CEO number 5 to come in and say, I will take this job, but you got to leave me alone and let me do my job.
Yeah. But that's not going to happen.
Whoever that is, he or she, good luck with that.
Okay.
But the VF3 people, go look at it. Just go look at it. It's just it's delightful. 125 miles around town, goofy little car.
All right, nice stuff.
Sounds like you guys are both fools.
I don't know. We'll see. I remain. I mean, based on
dubious.
What I heard from Nicole and others who went to Vietnam and had the tour there, I remain somewhat dubious of their prospects, but we'll see.
They did a good job making fake BMWs.
Yeah.
They just, they licensed the whole platform and made some BMWs that people liked. So EVs are harder than you think. Software is not easy.
Definitely.
Settle down. Yeah. Settle down. It's not
GM definitely knows that.
A GM though, like
Volvo.
Volkswagen learned that. Like, everyone's figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, and Volkswagen. That was another thing that I saw at CES. Volkswagen a couple of years ago, they announced, we're going to have Cariad do all our ADAS and automated driving software going forward, and we're going to use Qualcomm Snapdragon Ride platform. And now at CES, I was talking to somebody else who does not work for Volkswagen, but who is familiar with what's going on. And Mobileye, during Amnon Shashua's annual presentation, he was going over some of the design wins that they have for supervision and their chauffeur system. And, he listed major Western OEM without saying who it was. And from a conversation I had with somebody else, it's Volkswagen. Volkswagen has basically given up on CARIAD trying to do their ADAS and automated driving stuff, and they just give it all to Mobileye. Just let them do it.
Yeah.
Those guys
Major
know what
Western
they're doing.
OEM. That's what I want on my bio.
So the VW ID Buzz robo taxis that they're developing, those used to be running with Luminar Iris LiDAR sensors. After they switched from Argo to Mobileye, they were using the Luminar sensors. Now they've switched the LiDAR sensors to the Innoviz 2 from Innoviz, an Israeli startup. And Innoviz is also supplying the LiDAR sensors for a whole bunch of Volkswagen Group vehicles over the next several years. And so I'm pretty sure it's Volkswagen is the company that Dr. Shashua was referencing without actually saying it.
Major Western OEM.
Yeah.
Major Western OEM. Yes.
All right. Let's call it a show. I will drop in my conversation with Henrik Fisker here, and we will talk to you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, Henrik, like we last talked in Munich. Oh yeah, I ran into you for chat for a few minutes, but it's been a while since we had a good lengthy talk about the company and what's going on. So, you didn't hit your production targets, your delivery targets for 2023. You did unveil a bunch of new products that are coming up. So let's start with kind of an overview of the state of Fisker scene.
So, I mean, I think, I don't know of any car company that hit their production numbers last year coming out of COVID. Yeah. But I think that for us, obviously our first car, it's difficult for any startup when it's your first year and you're all excited. And then you get a call and, one of your suppliers gone bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And then you have to negotiate with the German government and get your tools out and move them somewhere else. The production stopped. So I think we had several of these type of supply issues which hampered us. And then we got to November and we finally said, okay, we're going to do 10,000 this year, which we then hit. It was obviously far below. So we ended with 10,000. We ended with delivering 4,900 vehicles, which is still, quite a lot of revenue if you just consider every vehicle is just over 70,000. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot for us, at least, and for a startup, a lot of cash coming in. So that, I think, was really good. When I started thinking about end of November, was I wonder, seemed like all the startups ran in the same direction when it came to direct sales. So I went and saw a friend of mine, Bo Buckman, which owns a lot of dealerships. And I sat down with him and we talked about it. And we said, is there maybe a way to do best of both worlds? Like, how can we do something new? So we came up with this concept, I call it dealer partnership model. I mean, it's still a dealer franchise. So I decided to pivot and change into doing a dealer franchise model with some new conditions, like no haggle pricing, larger dealer territories so they can do higher volumes and therefore hold the prices. And a whole bunch of other stuff. They'll also get, part of the OTA and stuff like that. And the reason I did it was because I really realized as we had produced all these vehicles, it was a bottleneck for us to get them to the customers because we actually have orders for a lot of these vehicles. Mm-hmm. But we can't get them fast enough out because we only have a handful of locations in the U.S. And it's just not enough. I mean, the U.S. is gigantic and you suddenly are finding yourself shipping a car 8 hours to a customer, whereas a normal dealer calls the customer and they come in half an hour, they pick up the car and they're gone. So I realized that bottleneck we have to change. And yes, if we spend 2-3 years on billions of dollars, we can do it. But I don't think we have this time anymore, and we also don't have a 0% interest rate. So times are different. And finally, what we saw on our heat map of our customers is that whereas way back 3 years ago, all our customers came from 3 states. Now we have customers all over the U.S. and we can't serve them. So the fastest way we can do that is by appointing dealers all over the U.S. So we decided to go for the dealer model, and that's really, for me, the important thing this year. How can we get up to deliver? We want to do tens of thousands of vehicles. We can only do it if we go to a dealer model. And service is the second part. We have now passed and exhausted, I think, all the early adopters. And now when you talk to a normal person living somewhere, they go, oh, so where am I getting the car service? The early adopter wasn't so interested in that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure it out somehow, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's not like, with the Karma or the original Tesla Roadster where, those customers were more likely to have multiple vehicles.
They had multiple vehicles. They didn't care.
Something closer to a mainstream.
Now you have mainstream people like, I'm going to drive every day in this car to work. Where am I going to get service? I can't afford to have this down for 3 days. Yeah. So that for me is another point of having the dealers do service, taking care of the customer. So that was another point that we wanted to get out of this. So I think this for me is the right decision. We went a lot through the financials. It cost us money to sell cars too. So it's not like, yeah, of course we pay the dealer margin, but that is also what it cost us to make. So there's not a huge difference there.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to do the same in Europe. In Europe, we're going to do a hybrid only because we already set up a lot of dealer points. We'll just keep those, but we'll not, expand them. We don't have that many. And then we'll just start appointing dealers. And we actually are already in talk to dealers. As soon as we had this news, we got a ton of deals ringing us up. And I expect we will start appointing the first dealers next month. And some dealers have existing showrooms that they would like to fill up. So we don't require them to build a showroom. You want a low interest fee, if you want, low cost of entry. So they can use existing dealer rooms. Of course, they have to change the signs, do a little paint.
Sure.
And then they're up and going. And we'll do the education. We have all the staff, training staff for techs and sales, because we have all these people already. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be pretty fast, moving pretty fast.
How many dealers do you expect to have?
So this year, I want to sign up in the U.S. 50 dealers before mid-year. In fact, even faster if I can. It'll be more dealers than that, but that's the first goal, to sign up 50 dealers fairly quickly. Sort of across the U.S., I would say maybe it's about in 35, 40 states.
And do you also plan to add any more company-owned stores, or just keep what you got right now?
No, we're gonna, in the U.S., we're gonna close the company-owned stores.
Oh, so
we only have like
dealers only.
We only have like 3 or 4.
Okay.
So we're gonna close those, but we're gonna keep our lounges, which is our brand centers, where you can go and see the car, which we have in LA in the Grove, we have in New York in the meat packing districts. We'd be even going to add a few more. That's just to support the dealers.
Okay.
And if we get a lead in that lounge, whatever the zip code of that person is, gets sent. So if you go in here, the zip code will be sent home to you wherever you are, if that's where you are from.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, clearly, you come to learn, that there's upsides and downsides to going direct, and
I also think the time you're at.
Yeah.
10 years ago when Tesla did, or whenever it was, 15 years ago now, it was a different time. You were only dealing with enthusiasts and early adopters, and you had a 0% interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot of capital expense to setting up your own network.
And they took 5 or some years to do it. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have 5 years.
Yeah.
So there's all these things coming together. Now, when we originally thought about it, we didn't know that we were going to have this interest rate. We didn't know it's going to take so long to close the real estate deals. So you also have, as a startup, one of the good things is you can adapt quick. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to talk about this for a year to make a decision. We talked about it for a month or so. And then we just say, you know what? This is what we need to do to accelerate faster, because we have the demand. We just got to be able to fulfill it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you can build the vehicles, you want to get them to customers.
Yeah, we don't have any problem building vehicles.
Okay. And how is the relationship with Magna going on the production side?
Well, I mean, I think that we have gone through the difficulties of all the issues of suppliers, and Magna also had a few issues where they were shipping some cars that wasn't done, etc. I think there's, in any startup phase, I mean, we have some software bugs we had to fix, and some of it was with suppliers.
It's not just startups having software.
Yeah, everybody has.
Yeah.
But the thing is, how fast can you fix them? And we can fix them within a little less a week. And we do software upgrades every month, OTA. So we fix them really quickly. And that's because we have a huge, very smart software team internally. We do all our own over-the-air updates, all done from San Francisco. We have fully connected cars, so that's very important to do all that stuff and understand your own car. So you don't have to go out and ask a supplier and then wait for a reply, because there's many OEMs have to do that. So, but yeah, no, with Magna, I mean, look, they can build the cars. I think now we're getting high quality cars. Yes, like any start of a new vehicle production, you have issues you have to solve them together. And you just have to get on with it and do it. It's not easy, but I think we have done it. It's there. We got a great car. If I look at the quality of that car, I mean, it's built on this by the same people on the same line than a Japanese and German automaker. And our car is to that quality standard. And that's unusual, not only for a startup.
And that's certainly one of the advantages of working with someone like Magna Steyr. I mean, they've been building vehicles for a lot of different OEMs for decades.
Yeah.
So
it's a high quality car, and people actually comment on that. They're like, "Wow, this car is solid." That's one thing they notice. And we have a lot of people from German premium brands. So it's almost like they actually came in thinking, "Oh, I wonder." I took a chat, and they go, "Wow, this thing is really solid." It's almost like they got surprised, even though they've been used to it.
Yeah. So besides that, kind of what's the feedback been like from customers?
Well, I think we have a multiple. We have a lot of people who love the car. They love the way it drives. They're surprised it drives better than the previous car they had. Some of them had electric cars. Some of them had gasoline cars. Some of the people were maybe not as early adopters as we thought. So they have been, it's been a little tough for them to deal with this sort of over-the-air updates. Remember to push the button and seeing some stuff come up and all that. So we have had some needed more guidance and help than others. Because we also had people who came in sort of they call it electronic car for the first time. Like they've never, they came in with a traditional gasoline car.
Yeah.
And now they're like, wow, I mean, I remember one guy was telling me, so how do I need to go to the dealer to get the over-there update? No, over there means you get it over there at home. Oh, really? You just push there, but then you have to keep so the thing is you have to keep the car locked, and we had a thing where you had to keep the car unplugged to make it work, the software update. And that caused a bit of issues because most people they plug it in at night.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
and then you forget.
That's what you're taught to do when you get an EV, you plug it in at night.
So now we're making a software update that comes 29th of January where you can leave it plugged in.
Okay.
So, we had to make this learnings you get when you get out in real life. I mean, just some few dumb things that you think, oh, why didn't you think about that one?
Yeah.
But it was apparently difficult, but we made it happen now. So there's been a lot of stuff that together with our customers, because customers give us feedback about certain things. And some of them have been like, oh, yeah, we actually didn't think about that. So, there's been a few things like that where you just have said, oh, yeah, but you kind of didn't really know it because EVs are still new. And if you know EVs, then you say, oh, yeah, it's normal to do this. Then you push that button. But somebody who's never done it and never have a car with over-the-air updates, it's just...
Which is the vast majority of people out there.
Yes, exactly. We kind of forget it when we're in this industry and you talk to early adopters every day. And, some of the early adopters, I mean, they put a tripod on the rear seat during the night running so they could see what happened with it's on the internet. And, I mean, that's the type. So you got that type. And then you got the normal person who just wants to have a car.
Yeah.
And they don't want to have any, they don't have time to learn. They just tell me what do I need to put in gear, okay, fine. And that's it. They don't want any more of that. So you got very extreme.
So of the customers, you delivered nearly 5,000 vehicles so far. Of that customer base, where, who are those customers? I mean, you said, some of them are obviously new to EVs, new to modern digital vehicles. But where else are you seeing customers coming from?
So we see sort of, I mean, if you leave it out the early adopters because there's less and less of those, I would say we see sort of, I mean, there's many different nuances, but if I take sort of two types, I would say one, if they come from an existing EV, you see some coming, if they come from an independent brand already and have driven those EVs from a non-traditional automotive OEM, There's mainly one brand. There's not too many of those.
Yeah.
They don't want to go back to a traditional OEM. And they like the look of our car. They like to try something new. And they like the idea that we're independent. So that's one type of buyer. And they're pretty seasoned with how things work and all this type of stuff. Then you have the buyer coming from the OEM, traditional OEM. And many of those, what happened was, and I talked to, like for someone in Germany, I talked to 3 of them because I asked, can I get 3 random numbers? And the most interesting was a 70-year-old guy that had driven a BMW for 40 years. I mean, had BMW, only BMW for 40 years. And finally, he discussed with his wife, said, you know what, we should really think about being sustainable. We should get an electric car. And of course, BMW electric car, but it was such a huge change. He said, I want to sort of see what's out there. So for the first time, I actually did research. What is out there? And your car popped up somewhere. So you said, oh, it looks really nice. So you start reading about it and all the stuff it had. And I said, I've never had a car with all these interesting things like California mode, taco trays, all that stuff. So he's like, this is really interesting. And then he's like, you know what, if I'm going to take such a huge risk, because I asked, why didn't you buy the BMW electric car? He goes, it's like the same as I had before. Like, now I could really try something new. And he said the final aspect was, we kind of decided to do this for sustainability, and you are 100% sustainable, whereas my current brand is not. So we felt we're going to do this big shift. So we have people that sort of finds us because they read articles of somebody written, but it's done by research. It's not because they know our brand.
Right.
And a few have followed it. So then we had some that followed us, of course. But many of those, and they're coming from the premium brands, European, and they just Googled us and figured it out, and like, whoa, it's interesting.
Fair. Looking ahead now, how many vehicles do you think you're going to be able? How many Oceans do you think you'll be able to deliver this year? And do you see the customer base evolving from what you've got now, or kind of just more of the same?
So your question was deliveries. So on deliveries, once we have the dealers up and running, I don't see any issues anymore with bottlenecking deliveries. So then it's just down to sales and production. And I think that we will continue to accelerate. Production be a very variable with Magna. They can scale up, obviously to a certain extent. Then we have to go to suppliers.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be doing really good. We haven't given a forecast. We won't do that until our earnings.
Okay.
But I see this as being a great year, an incredible year. And I think mainly because now we will be able to have that outlet of the dealers to be able to help us getting the car. One of the other things with the buyer now being more traditional, they want to go to a dealer and drive the car and get it explained. A lot of our first customers never even drove the car. They ordered it, we shipped them to their home, and that was it.
Yeah.
But
and now you want people to come in and
they want
see
to
some of these cool features, the rotating screen, the California mode.
They want to come and see it and experience it. They want to take it for a test drive. How is it to drive an electric car? I never did it before. So it's a new kind of demographic, and also they spread more. What we are seeing is it used to be just California, Texas, and Florida. Now it's spread.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not evenly spread,
Sure.
but it's definitely spread. We have, I would say, customers in every state.
Okay.
Almost nobody in North Dakota and South Dakota, but anyway,
I think there's like 3 EV chargers in North Dakota, maybe.
It might be the owner that ordered one. That's
do you expect to start delivering some of the other trim levels this year besides the Extreme?
So we delivered the first Sport and Ultra last year already. And yeah, we are now, Ultras in the US just because of shipping. Sorry, the Sport because of shipping a little behind, but I think we already have Ultras here.
Okay.
So yeah, they're going out now full speed.
Okay.
Now as we speak.
All right.
Yeah.
So last year you had an event where you showed off a whole slew of vehicles that are coming in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And how's the development process going on those? I mean, let's start with the pickup, with the Alaska.
So the pickup, we have actually decided that should be the first one to come out with because we think it's a really hot market. Especially because I've seen now that all the electric pickup trucks that came out or are coming out are full size. And ours are mid-size. It's like a Ford Ranger size. It's not as small as the Santa Cruz. It's like a Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
And I think it'll have sit in such a unique market segment because it's going to be priced between sort of $45,000 to $58,000. So I think the price segment, the size is unique. So we want to bring that out first, and that would be we're looking at end of 2025, like we said.
Okay.
We have now decided the Pear Pro will be slightly after, so similar time frame. The Alaska, let me stick with Alaska. The Alaska is based on the Ocean platform. So it's a product we can bring fairly quickly into production without, we're not inventing everything in there.
Right. A lot of the core architecture
It's already there. We're going to use the same battery pack for the beginning. We'll switch to the US later. And then we'll use same powertrain, the same old stuff in it, electronics and all that. So that vehicle it's pretty much done in terms of development. The next step is going to suppliers. The Pear is also pretty much done. It's also next step suppliers. What's unique about the Pear is that vehicle needs slightly more testing because it's brand new. It's a very unique steel structure where we have taken 35% out in terms of parts, which make it much.
There's a lot of interesting details about the way you design that with having parts that are interchangeable. The cars.
So that's really a low cost, amazing, but still being a quality vehicle. We're looking for a partner for that vehicle because we want to do really high volume, and we want to do it both in Europe, US, and maybe eventually even India and China. So it's a big project. So we have a lot of discussions going on.
The one point I know there was a partnership with Foxconn, and
it's lying there, but we are talking with a lot of different groups right now. We haven't announced anything new on Foxconn.
Okay. With the Alaska, obviously since it's a pickup, that means it would be subject to the chicken tax. So
no, we will make it here in the U.S.
Okay, that was what I was going to ask you, if you're going to build it here. Is Magna going to build that here, or are you?
Well, Magna doesn't have a plant here.
Right.
So nobody can build a plant that quick. So we will be looking at an existing plant.
Okay.
And we haven't announced. It's too early to announce anything about it, but it will be built into this.
Okay. All right. That would make sense. And then you actually have access to the IRA tax credits with that as well.
Correct.
And that price point, you mentioned the size. The Rivian R1T is closer. It's a little bigger than the Ranger, but it's closer to that size.
It's closer to I think it's close to full size.
It's actually closer to the Ranger than it is to the F-150.
Is it?
But, yeah.
I think it looks huge.
Yeah.
When I look at the length, though, it's somewhere in between, isn't it?
It's about 6 inches longer than a Ranger. It's actually almost exactly the same dimensions as a Jeep Gladiator.
Okay.
But yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, it's right. It's right on the Gladiator size.
Well, but yeah.
That price point you're talking about is significantly below where Rivian is.
Yeah.
And so that would, give you a significant advantage in terms of the market. I think a lot more people could afford, $45,000 to $55,000 than $75,000 to $90,000.
Yeah.
So that's
that's why we think this segment is interesting, because I think we'll have a pretty broad audience, and also the fact we don't have any competition in that price segment.
Right.
The others there's starting to get a lot of competition up there for sort of a $70,000 to $100,000 pickup truck, and so we didn't want to go in that segment, and I think we have sort of put ourselves in making premium cars, but trying to avoid to get jammed into this $80,000 to $100,000 segment.
Yeah, try to provide good value proposition.
Good value, yeah, exactly.
Give customers a lot for their money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great. Obviously, as a startup, this is a challenging economic environment to be in. You talked earlier about the interest rates and everything. How are things? To the degree you can talk about it. I don't know how much you can say right now, in terms of the financials, but do you feel confident that you'll be able to generate enough revenue from the Ocean this year to really be able to sustain the company going forward without potentially taking on debt or new capital?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it all depends what you want to do. I mean, anybody can spend a lot of money in the car industry, So you have to size your business requirements to, what your abilities are. But I think that we are very well positioned because of our relationship with Magna, where we don't own a factory. So we don't have that burden on us with, 5,000 employees or whatever you would have there. Secondly, I think that our vehicle makes enough high volume, it brings in a lot of cash to us. And third, I've already said publicly we're looking at partners that you would, consider.
Yeah, we're clearly going to need some additional manufacturing partner.
Yeah, and manufacturing partner comes other things. You're probably paying for things together and stuff like that. So I think we will size my answer to this will be we will size our business to fit in the environment we're in. And I think that's one of the advantages of being a startup. That's what we have done with going with dealers. I'm not sitting here and saying, we decided on no dealers, now we're going to stay with no dealers even if we're not going to make it. So we decided, no, we have to change because we have to follow and look at what is reality in the market. Nobody knew what the interest rate would be. Nobody knew what the competition would be. Nobody knew, the sentiment in the world or, whatever might happen. So you have to adjust to that. Maybe somebody had a plan about selling cars in Russia, but they aren't going to do that right now. They have to change that idea. So I think we're adapting to what fits in the current environment. And that was one of the reasons we always said we were set on going into Europe, because we wanted to have that Europe angle to be able to also offset if there's change in market condition between US and Europe. And by the way, what we have seen is UK, for some reason, have really taken off for sales. We're doing great in the UK. We're doing great in Norway. So, there's certain countries that just have picked up. In the US, what we saw was scattered out our orders. We thought they were all going to be, if you remember way back, I think Tesla sold all the cars in California for the first year. If we could have done that, I'd be like, if I could have sold all my cars in Austria the first, just rolled them out of the factory and didn't have people, that would have been so easy.
Yeah.
But that unfortunately was not the case, right? Yeah. We had to get them on a ship and on trains and get them over here. So, you have to ultimately, take advantage of being a startup by reacting to the environment. And that's what our plan is. That's what we're doing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Great.
All right.
Anything else?
No, I think this is the biggest thing, actually. Yeah. So
being flexible and responding to the changes.
That is how we're going to survive. And that's our difference to being a huge car maker, where they can do that.
Yeah.
Right? They have to, and you saw how they plan certain things, and then now they're cutting EVs out and making all these, they have to do this super long-term planning, which we don't have to do.
No.
We're much more agile. I think to a certain extent there's an advantage for us that there's been these cuts in EVs.
Uh-huh.
Because suddenly maybe now we are coming out with some cars that won't have too much competition.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, certainly, the Alaska is potentially in a really good spot, because there's, at least right now, there's nothing else quite in that.
There's nothing really in that segment and that price range as an EV.
Yeah. So you just got to find a place to build it.
All right. Good to see you.
Henrik.
All right. Take care.
Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
We'll see.
Thanks, Matt.